All right, so good evening and welcome to the regular scheduled meeting of the Mayor and Borough Council. Today is Monday, June 19th, celebration of Juneteenth, and it is about a little after 7 o'clock. We will start with the reading of the Open Public Meeting Statement, please.
This meeting was called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Union County Hawk, the Courier News, the Star Ledger, Union County Local Source, and the Alternative Press. In addition, copies of the notice were posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building and filed in the office of the Borough Clerk. Notices on the bulletin board have remained continuously posted. Proper notice having been given, the Borough Clerk is directed to include the statement in the minutes of this meeting.
Thank you. May we please stand for those who are here for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as we meet here on the holiday of Juneteenth, which we are officially celebrating, I think now for the second year, I think that we should just give pause and remember our history and work towards an equitable future for all. Thank you. So we have a roll call, please.
Jeffrey Banks, Gina Berry, Anthony Carter,
Present.
Erin McElroy Barker,
Here.
Catherine Mitchell, here, Patricia Walsh,
Here.
Mayor Marr.
Present. All right, so good evening, and again, welcome. As we start off the meeting, before we get into our business, this is where we will have presentations. And so I'm pleased to say that we have several proclamations that we will start the night off. The first is to draw attention to that June is National Gun Violence Awareness Month, and we have members from our Union County Moms Demand Action here. So I will ask our councilwoman to please go forward and call up the members that are here to receive it.
Would you ladies like to come up?
So the kids are going to be that way, right? Yes, you can eat. Is it on there?
So we have Vita Larkin, President, yep, and Jane, and Joan, and Jean. Janine, I'm so sorry.
We worked on that.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. Thank you. Okay, this proclamation declares the month of June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Month and the first Friday in June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the borough of Fanwood, New Jersey, to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence and to declare that we as a country must do more to end this public health crisis. Whereas every day more than 120 Americans are killed by gun violence and more than 200 are shot and wounded, with an average of more than 17,000 gun homicides every year. Whereas Americans are 26 times more likely to die by gun homicide than people in other high-income countries. In New Jersey, 427 gun deaths every year, with a rate of 4.8 deaths per 100,000 people. A crisis that costs the state $5.3 billion each year, of which $168.9 million is paid by taxpayers. New Jersey has the 5th lowest rate of gun deaths in the United States. Gun homicides and assaults are concentrated in cities, with more than half of all firearm-related gun deaths in the nation occurring in 127 cities. And whereas communities across the nation, including Fanwood, are working to end the senseless violence with evidence-based solutions, and whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is Mayor's highest responsibility, and support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from people with dangerous histories. And whereas mayors and law enforcement officers, in partnership with local violence intervention activists and resources, know their communities best, are the most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. And whereas gun violence prevention is more important than ever as we see an increase in firearm homicides and non-fatal shootings across the country, and increased calls to domestic violence hotlines. Whereas in January 2013, Hadiah Pendleton was tragically shot and killed at age 15. And on June 2nd, 2023, to recognize the 26th birthday of Hadiah Pendleton, people across the United States will recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day and wear orange in tribute to, 1, Hadiah Pendleton and other victims of gun violence, and 2, the loved ones of those victims. And whereas this idea was inspired by a group of Hadiah's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods. And orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas anyone can join this campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 2nd, the first Friday in June in 2023, to help raise awareness about gun violence. And whereas by wearing orange on June 2nd, 2023, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. We renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the hands of people who should not have access to them, and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our families and communities safe. Now therefore, be it resolved, Mayor Colleen Marr of the Borough of Fanwood, New Jersey, declares the first Friday in June, June 2nd, 2023, to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Mayor Marr encourages all citizens to support their local community efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value all human life. Would you like to say anything?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Marr, Town Council in Fanwood, for declaring June 2nd National Gun Violence Awareness Day and commemorating our Wear Orange efforts. Union County Moms Demand Action is committed to raising the voices of survivors during this time, as well as encouraging the community to recommit and asking themselves, what can I do to help prevent gun violence, as it is an epidemic in this country that no one other of our peer nations seems to have these issues, and really stemming from easy access to firearms for those who mean harm either to themselves or others. And there's small and big ways that our communities can help reduce gun violence. We foster and we encourage evidence-based solutions to the problems. We know what could work, but because gun violence is a multifaceted problem, it requires multifaceted solutions. And we welcome the community to, if anybody is interested in learning more about those solutions, please come see us. And we're doing what we can in the community to make it a better place. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Tom, can you get a group picture?
Ladies, before you go, can I get a... We'll take one step this way. Here we go, smile right now.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Make noise. Make noise. We also have a proclamation to highlight and celebrate and thank the Fanwood Scotch Plains Rotary Club, who's celebrating their 85th anniversary. So our Councilwoman Kathy Mitchell, and for those of the Rotary, please come up.
This one. Okay.
I'm going to read the whole resolution. We don't usually, sometimes we don't read all the words, but since everybody might not know all of the good work that you do, and so much of it is mentioned in here, I'm going to read the whole thing, okay? Okay. Proclamation saluting the Fanwood Scotch Plains Rotary Club for its 85th anniversary. Whereas Rotary International, founded February 23, 1905 in Chicago, Illinois, USA, is the world's first and one of the largest nonprofit service organizations. And whereas there are over 1.2 million Rotary Club members comprised of professional and business leaders in over 32,000 clubs in 200 countries and geographical areas. And whereas the Rotary motto, service above self, inspires members to provide humanitarian service, encourage high ethical standards, and promotes goodwill and peace in the world. And whereas the Fanwood Scotch Plains Rotary Club was officially organized in February 15, 1938, and is celebrating 85 years of service. And whereas the Fanwood Scotch Plains Rotary Club supports international causes like ending worldwide polio, humanitarian aid to Ukraine, freshwater projects in Nicaragua, and protecting vulnerable young women in Uganda. And whereas the Fanwood Scotch Plains Club supports local youth through 6 scholarships each year, totaling over $50,000, and works with the Fanwood Scotch Plains High School Rotary International to promote service to the community. And whereas annually, many volunteer hours are served by the Fanwood Scotch Plains Rotary members, including support for food banks, distributing dictionaries to all 3rd graders in the Fanwood Scotch Plains school system, holiday toy collection, supporting the restoration of the historic Frazee House, and whereas the Fanwood Scotch Plains Rotary Club was named Scotch Plains Volunteer Organization of the Year in 2020 for its voluntary service to the community during the height of the COVID pandemic by matching residents' needs to available resources, selling face masks, and donating $16,000 profits to local food banks. Now therefore be it resolved that Mayor Colleen Marr and the Borough Council salutes the Fanwood Scotch Plains Rotary Club for its 85 years of service to the community, and the world wishes it continued success. And of course, it's dated June 19th. I'm exhausted just reading all the activities. Al, and I'm sorry, but okay. Would you like to say anything?
Let me start. Well, thank you first of all for having us today and recognizing it. I'm the president of the Scotch Plains Fanwood Rotary, and it's my honor to do that. And as the, why would we come forward on our 85th as opposed to 100? Well, we're coming out of the pandemic, and many people don't know what we do. And it's a great organization, both worldwide and locally. And if you are interested in giving back to the community in terms of service above self, we are the organization you want to come see. Those are just some of the things that we do. We meet 3 times a month, 2 times at the Stagehouse Tavern, once at Darby Road, and there are just many projects. We were just at Juneteenth on Saturday, handing out fans. I'm sorry I ran out of fans. I was going to give you guys all a fan. But this coming year, we're also branching out. I was talking to Lieutenant Krantz at the beginning. We started a program last year called the Rotary National Medal of Honor, and we give a very nice medal to first responders, either police, fire, or rescue. And these recognize people who either done something very outstanding or a long period of service. We've given out 2 of them this year, and we were the fall, we'll put out a general letter to the council and the police and all the first responders, and again ask for recommendations. We have first responders are so important to our community, and when we can recognize them for the good works, we should. The other program we're going to start is, and it somewhat goes with the gun violence, is we are getting into our national or an international theme this year is hope, with concentration on mental illness. And we are starting a program in Fanwood Scotch Plains that we will fund the training of at least 20 people to receive first aid training for mental illness. And what does that mean? It means you're out there, you're talking to people. It's like CPR. It's a first intervention to help people. And as we get people trained, and it does cost people to get trained to get a certificate, we'll expand it out more generally to the public. We have something in Rotary called the Community Corps. People who can't come to meetings and be involved, as much as we are regular Rotary members, but want to do something. And the Community Corps is to address local community issues. And one of the biggest issues we have right now is mental illness. So let me introduce Maria. Maria is past president. She's also our current PR representative.
Hello, everyone. Thanks again for the proclamation. Really appreciate it. I'm just here to invite everyone to come and check out the Rotary Club. We're an inclusive organization, regardless of race, creed, religion, whether you're a business person, housewife, stay at home, it doesn't matter. Please come visit. And we're not just there for lunch. If you don't want to go to lunch, come and visit us and do a service project. If you don't want to come to dinner, I work during the day, so I don't go to the lunch meetings, but I do like the service projects. And one of the things that I am passionate about, we're teaching Interact, for example, is how to plant a garden at the Frazee House. We have a community garden, and we're teaching them how to grow, sustainability, and all that food gets donated back to El Centro and to RAP. So there's a lot of opportunities, and if you have a project and if you'd like to come and speak to us about gun violence, we invite speakers. People want to learn about these important topics. So I'm here to invite you to come and see what we're all about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're very fortunate to have such a healthy and robust Rotary. I don't think not every community can boast of that, to be perfectly honest. But our Rotary is very strong, it's very passionate. I always know your membership is growing, right? If one person steps away, you've always got one or two that come in. And I didn't realize that you had that option for people who can't make the meetings regularly. So that's good to know. So we will make it a point that us up here at the governing body will come and pay you a visit. Thank you. And our final proclamation we will read into the record is actually recognizing what today is, the importance of Juneteenth. And our councilwoman, McElroy Barker, was able to attend yesterday's celebration that was I guess, hosted by Social Justice Matters. So, Councilwoman, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Joan Peters is here, and Al was here, and they were both there. Al has been heading up racial healing circles in our communities for the last couple of years, and Joan was involved in really the start of, as was Al, the start of Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation. And racial healing circles is the biggest outgrowth of that. So thank you to both of them. Yes, Gina Berry and I were both at the Juneteenth celebration on Saturday, and I'm happy to report that attendance was good. Which I was quite excited about, and it didn't rain in the middle of it, which was also very nice. And really, actually, as part of the opening ceremonies, what was really interesting was they were giving, they were honoring a couple community members who lived in this community for, decades and decades, their whole lives, and did so much, to move the cause forward and to bring us all forward. And so I was grateful to be there for that. And I'm grateful that we have this in our community, and I do hope it continues to grow every year. I keep saying get inflatable bouncy houses and the kids will come, but they don't want to do that. So, but I think it's really important, and then I'll read that, especially in the current climate, both in our communities with the recent racist-oriented vandalism, the bias vandalism, and in our larger society where racism, sexism, and all of the isms seem to grow and blossom rather than die quietly as we would like them to, that it's really important for all of us to honor this day, and not just today, but to carry the spirit of what we want our world to look like, not just today, but every day. So, whereas after the Union Army captured New Orleans in 1862, slave owners in Confederate states migrated to Texas with more than 150,000 enslaved black persons. For 3 years, even after President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, enslaved black Americans in Texas remained in brutal bondage, immorally and illegally deprived of their freedom and basic dignity. Whereas on June 19, 1865, over 2 years after President Lincoln declared all enslaved persons free, Major General Gordon Granger and Union Army troops marched to Galveston, Texas to enforce the Emancipation Proclamation and free the last enslaved black Americans in Texas. Those who were freed from bondage celebrated their long overdue emancipation on June 19th. Whereas today our nation commemorates Juneteenth, a chance to celebrate human freedom, reflect on the grievous and ongoing legacy of slavery, and rededicate ourselves to rooting out systemic racism that continues to plague our society as we strive to deliver the full promise of America to every American. Whereas on Juneteenth, we recommit to our shared work to ensure racial justice, equity, and equality in America. We commemorate the centuries of struggle and progress led by abolitionists, educators, civil rights advocates, lawyers, activists, trade unionists, religious leaders, public officials, and everyday Americans who have brought our nation closer to fulfilling its promise. Now therefore be it resolved that Mayor Colleen Marr and the Council of the Borough of Fanwood, New Jersey call on every Fanwoodian to celebrate the emancipation of all Black Americans and to commit together to eradicate systemic racism and inequity that can never be tolerated and must always be fought against.
Thank you very much. Very important and timely. At this point, I'd like to call forward Police Director Michael Bramhall, who will give us an update talking about the Police Department's summer initiatives.
Thank you, Mayor,
And
members of the governing
Lieutenant
body.
Dan Krantz didn't see him in the background.
I want to congratulate the Gun Violence Awareness Group and the Rotary for their awards tonight, and we certainly work hand in hand on a lot of different projects ongoing, so I congratulate them on their proclamations. As the governing body is aware, in recent weeks we've had several significant acts of vandalism, specifically at the Nature Center, and prior to that, a couple acts of vandalism at the Forest Road Park, specifically the skate park. I will tell you that as an agency, the police department, we were offended and appalled by what occurred. And I know this from the officers because after each event was discovered, whether it be by private citizens, members of DPW staff, or officers themselves on patrol, every officer said they were sorry to me for not catching the person that was responsible for it, because we take pride in the work that we do here in this community, and we found it offensive. But again, from an officer standpoint, they were actually more apologetic that they didn't catch the person or persons that were responsible. So I can tell you that as a law enforcement agency, excuse me, we are taking this very seriously. Studies show most acts of vandalism are by young men between 13 and 17 years of age. So we know we're probably talking about middle school to early high school students, possibly living nearby or within our communities. But just so you know how seriously we are taking it, just in this calendar year, our patrol officers over 2,300 times have gotten out of their patrol vehicles and checked on a variety of locations, including the parks, the nature center, buildings, cars where interior lights were left on, buildings where lights were left on in the middle of the night that may have been an oversight. 2,300 times they've actually been proactive and gotten out of their patrol vehicles and checked on these facilities. Over 300 times, just this calendar year, we've gotten out of the car and inspected Forest Road Park. Over 319 times, we've been at LeGrand. And just in the last month alone, over 50 times, we've gotten out of the car and physically checked the Nature Center. In fact, one of the recent acts of vandalism within the last week or so, we have about a 1-hour window, late in the afternoon to early evening between the time one person left and someone else got there. So it's very small windows that we are dealing with. We're continuing to try to address it. Members of the governing body know, and I want the public to know, that we've installed cameras in our nature centers and in our parks. And I know those cameras work because they recently caught Officer Timmy Green on his patrol bicycle in the Nature Center. So I know they work, and they're out there, and we're going to continue to rotate them and purchase more of these cameras. They're low cost and they're effective, and they record for us, and hopefully we'll be able to either catch someone doing it or prevent it from happening again. And I'm fine with either approach, to be honest with you, as a governing body. We certainly want to catch people that are doing this, but as long as it stops, we're okay with that as well. Last week, we did an email blast. It went out on Friday. We did a very comprehensive press release. Working with Dr. Mast and our Board of Education, a blast email was sent out to all parents in the district, which, as you can imagine, is a pretty wide range of Scotch Plains and Fanwood residents that goes out to. Basically letting parents know that we are going to take a zero-tolerance policy when it comes to vandalism or any destruction of our town property, or quite frankly, anyone else's property in the town. Obviously, we're talking about our town parks. We take a lot of pride in our parks. I know our DPW, our recreation staff, really take pride in what goes on in those parks, and we want to try to keep them as pristine as possible. But I can tell you, as your police director, I know you have the confidence in me, and working with Lieutenant Krantz and the officers in this department, we're going to continue to be as vigilant as possible to catch and or deter from these acts of vandalism from occurring in the future. While I have the microphone, I want to talk about a couple things we're doing this summer. We're working, as we did last year, with Ron and Greg from Fabio's Pizzeria here in town to hand out coupons for free pizza to young adults that we see doing good deeds, whether it's wearing their bike helmet, using their bicycles to cross at intersections, or any other good deeds that we may see. And we're going to start handing them out at the Party in a Park event, which is next week on June 27th. Lieutenant Krantz has also worked directly with Bob Budiansky and our Recreation Department to get a proactive approach to law enforcement officers going to recreation events. Again, yet another way that we can enhance our relationship with the young people in this community. And I really think that's always been ongoing, but we're going to step up our game a little bit. We're actually starting tomorrow. We're going to meet with the summer camp counselors and give them a general overview on some things that they should be aware of when involved and protecting our youth over the summertime at those programs. We're preparing for our Fan Jam event. We had a meeting today with Fan Jam representatives. That's coming up in very short order on Sunday, July 9th. Big event for us and the police department. Also on August 1st, our National Night Out. I've only been here a couple years, and it just seems the 2 years that I've been here, it's been better each year, and we're certainly going to strive to make that a little bit better in the future. I mentioned the bike patrols. We get them out there when we can. Obviously, we have minimum staffing when it comes to the bike patrols, but we try to get them out there when we can. And I know Lieutenant Krantz told me today that upon reviewing the video from the Nature Center recently, he saw Officer Green on his bike in the Nature Center. So we know they're out there, and we know the cameras are working. Rotary touched on mental health. We know it's a serious issue. As you're aware, the police department recently started in a program called Arrive Together. An article was in last week's Union County Hawk about what the Arrive Together program is all about. And we've partnered with some neighboring towns of Scotch Plains, New Providence, Mountainside, and Berkeley Heights, where we rotate every 5th Tuesday. The Borough of Fanwood assigns a police officer to this Arrive Together program, and we ride with mental health counselors on jobs where a person suffering a mental health crisis may be in need of further assistance. And we also get support from other towns. I think Westfield has Mondays, Plainfield has Wednesdays, the county has days, et cetera. But we partnered up with the other 4 towns here in the western part of the county to get the benefits of the program. And our commitment is only 1 officer every 5 weeks for an 8-hour shift. So I think we're doing pretty well. We're getting pretty good bang for our dollar. All right, we're getting about 35 days of service. It's costing us 1 day. So it's pretty good. It's just got off to a start a couple weeks ago. We've had 1 officer out. Officer Kathy Case was out there last Tuesday. That was our first day on June 13th. But we'll continue to push forward with that program. And that's a countywide program, and I wouldn't be surprised, knowing the seriousness of mental health, that continues to move statewide as well. So that's yet another initiative that, with the blessing of the governing body and the administration, that we're trying to be involved in and remain as proactive as possible. So that's my quick spiel. I know you have a long meeting, but while I'm here, if anyone has a question, myself or Lieutenant Krantz, and if I missed anything, Lieutenant, please feel free to jump in. We worked on this together to make sure that we had every option covered.
Very comprehensive report, so I thank you for that. Very comprehensive.
Thank you. And as always, I'm available.
Councilwoman, you have a question?
As you know.
I just want to tell you, both you and Lieutenant Krantz, that the Fanwood Environmental Commission is very thankful for your prompt assistance whenever they've been called with the incidents, that 5 or 6 incidences that have occurred at the Nature Center just within a week. So they wanted me to convey that to you.
Well, thank you very much.
That your team is very responsive and they're very appreciative.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Keep up the good work for
Thank
us.
you, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. May I have a motion to open the meeting to the public, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to call forward any members of the public that are here that wish to make a comment, 5 minutes per speaker, excluding ordinances for our public hearings. Seeing that there isn't anyone that wishes to come forward, may I have a motion to close the meeting to the public?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have no ordinances for public hearing second readings, but we have 3 ordinances that Councilman Carter will put into first reading, please.
Thank you. I introduce ordinance number O-2023-10-S and request the title be read by the clerk.
An ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 86, Salaries and Compensation, and Chapter 67, Police Department of the Code of the Borough of Fanwood.
Thank you. I move that the ordinance number O-2023-10-S be adopted on first reading, and if adopted, that the clerk advertise the ordinance as required by law, and that the second reading of said ordinance be held at a public hearing at Borough Hall, 75 North Martine Avenue, Fanwood, New Jersey, on, it appears, July 17, 2023, at 7:00 p.m., or as soon thereafter as the matter can be heard.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next. Since Jeff is not here, Councilman, you want to just continue, please?
Okay, thank you. Next, I introduce ordinance O-2023-11-R and request the title be read by the clerk.
An ordinance amending Chapter 12 of the Borough Code for Housing Division within Property Maintenance Department.
Thank you. I move that ordinance number O-2023-11-R be adopted on first reading, and if adopted, that the clerk advertise the ordinance as required by law, and that the second reading of said ordinance be held at a public hearing at Borough Hall, 75 North Martine Avenue, Fanwood, New Jersey, on July 17, 2023, at 7:00 p.m., or as soon thereafter as the matter can be heard.
Second.
Any comments, questions? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I introduce ordinance number O-2023-12-R and request the title be read by the clerk.
An ordinance amending Chapter 12 of the Borough Code for Housing Division within the Department of Construction.
Thank you. I move that ordinance number O-2023-12-R be adopted on first reading, and if adopted, that the clerk advertise the ordinance as required by law, and that the second reading of said ordinance be held at a public hearing at Borough Hall, 75 North Martine Avenue, Fanwood, New Jersey, on July 17, 2023, at 7:00 p.m., or as soon thereafter as the matter can be heard.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I was remiss in acknowledging that we have, that Russ Ugel, our borough attorney, is not here, in case anyone was wondering. And we want to welcome Greg Pasquale, who is stepping in tonight from the Jalo.
Schaefer Shane Jalo.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you and welcome. Glad to have you here. Okay, moving on under the consent agenda, we will read into the record just the titles, but I would first ask, is there any resolution on that the council wishes to pull out for further consideration? Seeing that there isn't any, we read into the record consent agenda for 2023-06-123, a resolution to return escrow for police extra duty to American Water, authorizing a step increase for police officer Timothy Green, authorizing the payment of claims for the month of June, authorizing the tax exempt report for May 2023, authorizing the borough to submit a grant and to execute that grant for the New Jersey Department of Transportation for Fanwood Borough Project 142, and for our annual CDB shared service agreement for fiscal year 23-24. May I have a motion on that, or a second on that?
Second.
Okay, may I have a roll call, please?
Carter,
Affirm.
McElroy Barker,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Carries.
Okay, moving on, we have resolutions, and we'll turn it back over to Councilman Carter.
Thank you. I move resolution 2023-06-129, appointing Colleen Hume as acting clerk for the borough special meeting of June 26, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I move resolution 2023-06-130. It's a resolution to defer regional district school taxes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next, I move Resolution 2023-06-131. It's a resolution authorizing the sale of surplus personal property no longer needed for public use on an online auction.
Second.
Do we have a date of that?
Pat's gonna post it. We don't have a date yet.
Okay, thank you. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I move Resolution 2023-06-132, authorizing the cancellation of the temporary budget.
Second.
So we have a roll call, please?
Carter,
Affirm.
McElroy Barker,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, I move Resolution 2023-06-133, resolution appointing a records redaction officer for the Borough of Fanwood pursuant to Daniel's Law.
Second.
Okay, we've appointed Courtney. Okay, thank you. All right, all in favor?
Oh, I
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we move Resolution 2023-06-134. It's a resolution authorizing the borough to enter a legal services agreement with Stag Luza LLC related to PFAS litigation services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Next, Resolution 2023-06-135, resolution authorizing an agreement with Jersey Professional Management to conduct a search and recruit an administration. No, this is the business administration.
As administrator.
Right, it says administration, but business administrator for the borough.
may I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we move resolution.
Aye.
Sorry.
Aye, aye. Thank you. We're
Take a
good.
pulse over
That was a
here.
little slow.
Me too. Next, I move Resolution 2023-06-136, ABC Liquor License Renewal, South Avenue Liquors.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you have one more,
Two more,
or two
Two
more.
more.
Couple more.
three more.
Three.
Right, they
Sorry.
can keep selling liquor now for the summer. Yeah, next we move Resolution 2023-06-137, another ABC Liquor License Renewal, Sheelan's Crossing.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And we have another liquor license, Resolution 2023-06-138, ABC Liquor License Renewal for Corano Square, which is now in the books.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And finally, for A&F, move Resolution 2023-06-139, authorizing a catering permit to Shillings Crossing for Fan Jam.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Moving on into public safety.
I move resolution number 2023-06-140, appointing Michael Bramhall as Director of the Fanwood Police Department.
Second.
And this is for an extension,
1 year.
one more year. Thank you. Have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on into public works.
I move Resolution 2023-06-141, appointment of a substitute engineer for the borough in the absence of the borough engineer.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I move Resolution 0223-06-104, a resolution authorizing the borough to enter into an agreement with a contractor for the removal of trees and related work around the borough.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, I'll move Resolution 2023-06-143. It's a resolution authorizing application for the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs Lead Grant Assistance Program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And I'll move Resolution 2023-06-144, resolution authorizing a grant application to the Department of Community Affairs for local recreation improvements for fiscal year 2023.
Second.
Do we know what to do? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, we have no unfinished or old business, so we will move into our standing committee reports. Under Administration and Finance, Councilman Carter?
We gave ours during the agenda meeting.
Okay, thank you. Under Public Safety?
Oh, thank you. So first, thank you to Director Bramhall and Lieutenant Krantz and to all of the police officers in our department for their work to keep Fanwood residents safe and to ensure that we can stop this vandalism that we see occurring. We thank them in advance for their involvement in the community and for this summer to work to involve the community in efforts and initiatives to attend the community events, the rec events, continue the bike patrols, and then the new initiative for the Arrive Together program to help with mental health crisis. So thank you for that. The department handled 1,172 calls for service in the month of May. That's about 37 per day. This includes 115 traffic enforcement details, 292 building security checks. The officers conducted 106 park and walk details, as well as responding to 42 medical calls and 27 fire and burglar alarms. During the month, 142 vehicles were stopped for traffic violations, resulting in a total of 136 summonses being issued, 91 for moving violations, and 45 for parking. Various officers attended training classes, and during the month of May, there were 2 adult arrests.
Thank you. Moving on to Public Works.
Wait, we have fire and rescue.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So I'm filling in for Councilwoman Berry, the Fanwood Fire Department report for May 2023. During the month of May, the Fanwood Fire Department responded to 33 calls for assistance, including 4 electrical fires, 5 mutual aid, 4 residential fires, fire alarms, water, an elevator emergency, 5 motor vehicle accidents, 3 carbon monoxide alarms, 2 commercial fire alarms, and then other more minor incidents. And we thank Chief Piccola for that report. And then the Rescue Squad report for May 2023. The Rescue Squad was called to service for a total of 26 calls in the month of May, 8 of which were sick people. There were also a couple standbys, a couple traumas, altered status, and most of the hospital trips were to hospital transports. We are getting a lot more accurate data on insufficient crew calls now because they are accessing the data directly from the county. So unfortunately, about 65% were insufficient crew calls. I want to say 2 things about that. One is we warmly welcome Captain Ian Lewis back. He is back with the rescue squad, and so we're very happy to have him back. And he is working closely with his group to try to recruit. They have been pretty low in numbers, and you know most of the rescue squad are volunteers, and they work during the day, and you know their availability is quite limited, and so they've had a lot of difficulty staffing up for calls. And, you know, I was also reminded today in public safety that, you know, sometimes a rescue call can be 2 hours long. Right. And if another call comes in during that time and you have 1 crew on and you have 1 ambulance, you are an insufficient crew for that second call. But Captain Lewis and I are going to get together and he's going to really look through that 65% and get a better idea of what kinds of calls, when, during the day, et cetera, so that we can have a better understanding of why the crews so many were insufficient, but they're also recruiting, and so they are making a lot of efforts to advertise and put out that they are recruiting. There are several recruits who are close to being ready, but they are always looking for more volunteers to get trained, and they would do the training, and you know, it's a terrific way to volunteer your time. And as usual, they're very grateful for anyone who might be interested. So please reach out to the rescue squad if you are. Other than that, the rescue squad is always present at all the events, including Memorial Day and the Ruck March. They will absolutely be at,
Van Jam.
no.
No.
Party in the
Party
Park,
in the
thank you. Party in the Park and Fan Jam, and National Night Out this summer, and they are happy to do those things, so we thank them. Now I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Moving on under Public Works.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'll read the report from Clint Dixon, who was our Public Works Director. Besides all of their normal things that they do, you know, picking up litter and maintaining the sanitary sewer system at various locations, emptying all the recycling bins, installing signs, putting up barriers, taking down barriers, setting up tables, all the things that are done, but you just expect it to be done. They've been watering all of the new trees that have been planted this year by the Shade Tree Commission. Of course, they've been maintaining the parks and the ball fields on usually 3 times a week. New signs are up at the North Side train station for the employees of the library to be able to park. They've been painting the yellow curves at the intersections all along Martine Avenue, getting that all spiffy for the Memorial Day Parade. There's so much here, I don't even know what to tell you. And of course, they have been responding, as you heard earlier, to various vandalism incidences at Forest Road and LeGrand Parks and the Nature Center. The recycling center will be open on July 1st, and here again it is self-service for mostly electronics. Let me see, and I'm told to remind all the residents that the plastic film can be taken to the recycling center on that particular Saturday, or it can also be dropped off at the Public Works Department. These are the newspaper sleeves, the wrappers for your, if you buy multiple paper towels, that type of plastic film. There have been also 14 property maintenance violations. Letters have been sent out. As I was traveling around the town over the weekend, I know some of these have been resolved. We also had a Public Works meeting last week. Most of it was taken up by what had happened at the Nature Center, and also with Antonia's bringing up to speed all of the road projects and the lighting and other issues that are going on in town. The Shade Tree Commission did not meet this month because they didn't have a quorum. The seniors met last week for their annual picnic, and they will be taking a hiatus for the rest of this summer, so meeting again in September. The Green Team met also. They talked about various things. They're going to be having a table at Fan Jam. They also talked about food waste and adopting sewer grates, meaning if you have a sewer grate in front of your property, just to make all the trash go away that's in front of it.
Yeah.
Because some of the grates as I was going around over the weekend are perfectly fine, and others are just covered with debris.
Depending on where they are, yeah.
So as long as the council has no objection, they would like to take this project on. And I told them the Environmental Commission also wants to do this, so it's coming from both.
I'm glad they're going to have a table at Fan Jam. That's great.
And let me see, Ministerium also met last week, and that was their last meeting for the, until September. And now we come to the Environmental Commission, and as you may have heard earlier, and if you have a child in school, you know what has been going on there. And if my council meant, this has become very personal for me, these bridges in the environmental, in the Nature Center. This project has been going on for, just to give you a little bit of a history, There have always been bridges there. They were basically wooden bridges built by volunteers. Over the years, they decayed and were a safety hazard, so they were removed. We got some grant money and to have the bridges repaired, not repaired, renewed, totally new construction. They were they were put in last week. 1 hour later, they were destroyed, or in my opinion, destroyed because someone had etched some hate issues into the railings of the bridges. And it just became very, very upsetting, very hurtful, became very disenchanted. And I just have a question, if my council mates will allow me to just editorialize a little bit more. I want to know where the outrage is, because according to social media, there hasn't been very much outrage, even though this has been posted on social media, as opposed to last year when we were talking about having dogs in the park and the outrage that came as a result of that, with all the social media, people here complaining, and national media.
Yeah.
So I really want to know, where is the outrage on something that I consider much more detrimental to our community? You know, if this happened to any of your own homes, if your toilets were stuffed up by someone who came in the middle of the night and broke your windows and ransacked your house and stuffed your toilets, you'd be very upset. If you woke up the next morning and you saw some graffiti, some of it obscene, as is happening in our parks, you would be very upset. If someone etched something into your porch or the siding of your house, you would be very upset. And you would be outraged. And I just want to know where the outrage is. And I think I'm finished.
Thank you. Well said. Well said.
Thank you for allowing me to say that.
I'll give the land use. Thank you. I'll give the land use for my council president, Jeff Banks. I really just want to talk about on June 7th, over at our new library, we had our beam signing ceremony. The mayor can attest to it is flying along. And for me, I'm a lifetime union labor guy, so it's to be expected, the veracity and the level of professionalism and the manner in which the project is running, because we decided through the mayor and council that we were going to do this project with union labor, and it's been nothing but success to this point, and I'm certain that it will continue to be so. The mayor was there, some representatives from M&M, our EPIC team, of course Dan Weiss, the longtime library head, was there, Pat Plant, who's been part of this library happening from the very beginning, of course Councilwoman Mitchell, who's also been spearheading this from the inception for years and years and years and years, and of course Councilman Bank, who's kind of heading us up from our council standpoint. We're all in attendance, and the rest of us were there in spirit. I'm sure we've all gone by there at different times and lended our support to the staff and for those who are undertaking this project for our community, and it's going to be great. When you have time, I'm not going to say go on the site, but our site manager is there, I'm going to say 99% of the time. And I'm sure if you just kind of knocked on the trailer, you can find a clear and safe path for you to take a look around. But it is progressing nicely. Money well spent.
Yes. Yes, thank you. They are actually, I think, pouring the concrete up on the second floor.
Oh, wow.
That's done.
Downstairs.
Upstairs is done.
Upstairs, and they're starting to,
They're
you can see
framing
the
walls.
partition of where all the walls are going to be right now.
I love how you can see that front.
Yeah, the
where
window, the
Rotunda
bow.
Road. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's where
beautiful.
the children's library will be. It's job well done and well said with using project labor agreement for that project. I would be remiss if we just didn't finish the standing committee reports as the sewer utility bills came into the homes. We know that we have gotten some questions on it. We know that we've had people who've stopped in and sent their email, so we thought it would just, Trish Salardo, who is our Chief Financial Officer, would just kind of just go back because we've been discussing the rates and striking the rates for a while, and I think maybe it just bears repeating because the bills have hit and
So the sewer bills have been delivered, and they are due on July 1st with a grace period extended to July 17th. So the sewer bills have been based on a 12-month 2022 water usage. The funds are raised to pay for the sewage treatment of the entire borough, and that cost keeps going up every year. This year it is $578,000 to treat the sewage that leaves your home and has to be treated elsewhere. And then we also use the funds that we raise for maintaining and repairing the infrastructure, our sewer infrastructure, when needed. So we need to have a reserve put aside and continually be filming the sewer lines and looking to make sure that they are in good working order. Last year, the borough held the cost down to the residents, and we didn't increase the rates because we used ARP funds, and those funds are no longer available to us this year. So on the whole, the borough faces the same problems that everybody is facing in their homes, that our utility rates are increasing, the same as yours and mine. So that is why the rates have been increased.
okay, thank you very, very much.
Can I add something? So just as administration and finance, and we all work closely together, I just want to touch on one point because there have been several residents who say, why am I being charged for my charge based on my water bill when I have sprinklers or I have a pool and those things don't go into the sewer? And I guess the remedy across the board is there is a mechanism for contacting the water company at your cost and have a meter installed and the plumbing installed so that whatever systems you would like to have unmetered and they deem can be unmetered or metered separately can happen in that manner. But as it stands right now, and there is some validity to what you say there, but in order to meter it, the mechanism is in place, and our engineer I'm sure can speak to it, and you would be able to contact them and have a meter installed. We don't know about the cost, who incurs it, but that it would be the way for you to say 100% this amount of water is being flushed down the toilet when I use it, and this amount of water is going down the drain when I take a shower, and this amount of water is attached to my sprinkler system.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, let's go over to some of our departmental reports. Engineering?
Sure. Good evening. I just want to report the Glenwood project, the Glenwood paving, Rainier paving, is complete finally. Took a little while. We're in punch list mode now, so we know that the grass hasn't grown in yet, so it's been a dry summer or dry spring. So we may have a little bit of a tough time growing the grass, but we'll get it back. We'll be reseeding probably in the fall. Also Coriel, we installed those new curbing. Also punch list mode right now, and we have to install drainage on Vinton Circle. So that's gonna be happening over the next few weeks. The Nature Center, we've been talking about the Nature Center. I guess the positive in all this is I think we have a beautiful new path that was installed, and the 2 new bridges. I encourage anyone that hasn't seen it in a long time to take a walk. It's really not just a poison ivy filled park anymore, or wooded area. It's a nice path right now. So I encourage people to go take a look at the Nature Center. I think we're trying to set up a ribbon cutting in the the next few weeks. The carriage house roof project, the contractor started last week. They expect to have the interior and most of the project done by September. We spoke about the library, they're just moving. We actually did have someone just walk onto the construction site in sandals and shorts today. So if you're going to, if you want to go to the site, please call me. Let's try to set something up. And
Yeah, it's an active construction.
it's an active
site.
construction site. Hard hats and boots are required. I'll be setting up some grants for the DOT. They're due July 1st. For next year, we're looking at Kite Place, Sun Valley Road, Walden Road, and I have a few other candidates. I'm trying to finalize some estimates now to see what kind of money we're going to spend next year for that. And then this past week, on Friday, I believe, the trees were installed at LeGrand Park. We got 7 new trees. You know, I know some people don't like how big they are, but I thought they were. I think they look really nice.
They do look nice.
They do.
So the contractor's going to install gator bags,
Real big trees.
so it could self-water.
Good.
In this dry climate we've been having.
Perfect.
And that's all I have.
Thank you. When does the capital become effective?
The 5th, July 5th.
Okay, so we'll have the road program for the summer?
So I don't.
July 6th.
So we'll have, we have to start the design July 6th. I've already requested proposals from engineers, so we can't approve those proposals until our July meeting.
Right, but that's just the one that we're doing, like the top, the slurry seal stuff that we're
No.
doing.
Uh,
But that's part of
Slurry
it.
seal is easy because it's a state contract. We just need a purchase order for that.
Right, that's the one I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
once we get the July 5th timeline, we could go out and
Let's put it right
do
in the
that.
list.
Yep,
And
yep.
then let's just get the list of the roads,
I
right?
talked to them last week about that, so he's ready to go.
Yep, the list of the roads, and we should just tell the people that we're doing
Uh-huh.
that, right, and figure out, just clear communication.
Okay.
Okay. All right, thank you. Back to recreation, which I
Yeah.
I jumped over, so.
Whatever. I have to defend my recreation people. Okay.
That's loud.
Sorry. 2 things that were not on Bob's notes that I wanted to mention. Because, the Recreation Commission is actually, pretty full and functional now and busy and engaged. There's a lot of new blood in the last couple of years. And so as a result of the length of the meetings, they now have 2 planning subcommittees. One is for the 5K specifically, and that committee is already meeting and sort of ironing out a lot of details and pulling in everybody that they need to pull in to get the 5K. Yeah, October 15th, I want to say off the top of my head. I'd have to open my calendar. And so that is, off and running in terms of its planning. And then there's another planning subcommittee for the next phase of Forest Road Park. Everybody, hates those tennis courts, we know, and LeGrand has gotten a lot of nice upgrades as well, but they are still working on trying to figure out how to continue to beautify and make Forest Road Park the most useful park it can be. Unfortunately, in a climate where everything costs 5 times more than you think it should, but there is another committee that's meeting regularly on that as well. In addition, the training wheel toss was held on Sunday, June 4th at the Votech parking lot. They had a great turnout, including a lot of volunteers. Over 2.5 hours, they taught almost 50 kids how to ride 2-wheel bikes. They come in with training wheels, they leave without them, so it's very exciting. And they really love doing it, and so they're happy to have it back. Summer party in the park, we've already talked about, but it's Tuesday night, June 27th, from 6 to 8:30 at LeGrand Park. At the end of which, there will be the first summer movie, which Bob is still not sharing what that movie is going to be, so it's a mystery. But the party will offer food, music, rides, a contest, and more. And Shovlin Mattress Factory this year is one of the sponsors, and they're sponsoring a kids contest and a pillowcase race. The Fanwood Scotch Plains Y will also offer crafts and other activities. And then the movie that night will be the first of an 8-week series of movies on Tuesday nights. And they even reschedule the ones that are rained out for rain, so you should get 8 movies this summer. And it's a really fun event, and just so you parents know, the rides and the food are mostly not free, so make sure you bring your wallets. And then the summer park programs, as I think I mentioned before, the summer park program itself is pretty full. The mornings are absolutely overfilled with a waiting list. I think there were a few spots left in the afternoons, but very few of them. The travel camps are also full and on a waiting list. There are other summer camp programs that are sort of interest-specific that are all on the Fanwood Recreation site, so go ahead and check that out at the Fanwood Rec site. And that's it.
Thank you very much. I'd like to call forward our Economic Development Downtown Redevelopment Liaison, Ms. Jeffrey.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Coming bearing the next announcement for Fan Jam. So these posters you're seeing out and about, I think the banner is across Martine, so everyone's been reminded that it is July 9th from 11 to 7 in the Grand Park. And I have to say, you know, as with our other events, every year it gets a little better and better. The music lineup is outstanding. I think the timing on they have the small mailers and handouts and other social media gives you the timing for the bands, but they basically, you know, run from the beginning of the event until the end at 7 p.m. So the last Radio Petty is a Tom Petty tribute band that's super popular. The function band was there last year and was great.
Yeah,
so it's exciting. The music will be great. And I do have to say, you know, the sponsorship that happens for such a small borough by our businesses and our, you know, development community and everything is pretty great. I mean, whenever I call them for the things that I work on, like Ladies Night or, you know, work with the Chamber on Fan Jam, and I know they do even with the rec, you know, it's nice to see so many of our businesses always supporting whatever goes on in Fanwood, because it's a select few. You know, you're usually hitting the same 15, probably plus or minus, and they, you know, they pretty much always rise to the occasion. So hopefully, Fan Jam will come off yet bigger and better as it usually does. The car show's going to be amazing again. I mean, they have a big turnout.
It's
that come for
huge.
that.
Yeah, it is.
So
It was huge last year.
Yeah, there's a lot of great vendors and food, so that'll be, that's turning out to be, you know, as always, improved and bigger and better. That's really the only thing for businesses, other than I hope everyone's been going to the Mediterranean food that's in the old Sheelan's Fishery, because it's delicious, absolutely delicious. And they're super responsive on calling and ordering, and, you know, it's a small place, but they seem to be working out their efficiencies, and but I highly recommend it. I'm not sure when the Fanwood Day Spa is opening in the half of the former Sen Couture space, but they've been moving their personal items in, so I'm sure it'll be very, very soon. And then there's a bunch of other leasings under discussion, so I'm not at liberty to talk about it, but there's a lot of good stuff coming into Fanwood. You know, sometimes with business models, they don't work, and when the old comes out, it gives room for the new. So in my work, although you hear a lot of negative sometimes when businesses go out, it's usually not, it's usually the industry and the market, not necessarily like a particular situation.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're happy about that. I know you see all the beautiful new, 40 South is looking great, Soho's going, the library's going, Old Fanwood Animal Hospital is down. So, you know, some modest and much needed new investment, and of course our bigger items, such as Carano Square will be moving forward. Their site plan is coming on in June, which means they will be at the ready to go for construction drawings, and yeah, which will be great. So it will take a couple of months to get the construction drawings together, but they will in all likelihood be filing before the end of the year with their construction permits if all goes smooth. I remind the council that we have a redevelopment plan for that area. We have a redevelopment agreement. So, you know, much of what we wanted to see there and the specifics have been already carved out. This is just the next, you know, ironing out the details of their design, and it's some subsurface parking, which is tricky, and but a lot of it is already what we anticipate and have worked hard for, and we have the agreements and the zoning in place for. That's, I think, about it, unless anybody has anything for...
Do you want to just sort of do the wrap-up, since we weren't live on television before with Ladies Night Out?
Oh, yeah, Ladies' Night Out was terrific. We had a fantastic turnout, 350, 325 women. We were fully registered weeks before the event even this year. So again, the sponsorship is, terrific. Lightbridge Academy and the Goddard School sponsored the selfie station, Elite Properties, and the Chamber of Commerce always sponsored the tent. So, we have, and the crew that works it, the Ladies' Night Committee, myself and Pat helps out, and Dawn Mackey helps with helps with the event, but we still need the local people. I mean, she has a small role. So, Jill Jones and Jenny DiVirgilio, I'm going to forget some people, Sarah Carpian, so putting together the whole brochure, and anyway, it was great. We had a great prize of a Marc Jacob tote bag, and the ladies had Fanwood Liquor donates the Prosecco, that always helps. So, yeah, it's just a great local ladies' night out.
It was fun.
It was.
Weather was great.
Yeah, the weather was great.
Okay, so we're rocking and rolling, as they say.
Rocking and rolling.
All right, thank you very much.
All right.
With that, that ends our official business for the evening. I'd like to have a motion to reopen the meeting to the public.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to call forward any members of the public that wish to come. Are we on Facebook?
Yes, Facebook is on.
Is there any?
No new comments on Facebook.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Michael Lewis, 41 Beach Avenue in Fanwood. Just a quick observation. Thin film plastic recycling was always well received when you had a bin over in Borough Hall. You might want to consider, and if it's practical, to put them back there. You might get a better reception than we have.
Thank you.
Could you carry that message? Could you carry that message back to Public Works? That's right.
All right, thank you. With that, may I have a motion to close the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our next regular scheduled meeting is Monday, July 17th. We do not have an agenda meeting as it falls right around the 4th of July. So with that, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Good night.